It started with a notification I wasn't supposed to see. My phone glitched while I was paying for coffee, and suddenly a strange app appeared on my screen, one I never installed. Location sharing active, it blinked, before disappearing just as quickly. That 5-second glitch changed everything. That night, I waited until she fell asleep. The soft glow of my phone illuminated her peaceful face as I scrolled through my hidden apps. There it was, disguised as a system utility, a tracking program that had been monitoring my every move for the past 8 months. Every coffee shop, every client meeting, every supposed moment alone, she had been watching it all in real time. My stomach dropped as I scrolled through the history. The app had recorded timestamps when I'd stopped moving for more than 15 minutes. It tracked my average speeds, suggesting whether I was walking, driving, or sitting still. It even created a heat map of my most frequented locations with precise coordinates. My entire existence had been reduced to colored dots on a screen. "Why are you still awake?" Her voice startled me in the darkness. I locked my phone instinctively, heart pounding. "Just checking emails," I lied, tasting bitterness in my mouth. The irony wasn't lost on me. Her surveillance had turned me into a liar. The next morning over breakfast, I casually mentioned going out of town for work. Her eyes flickered to her phone before she responded, "For how long?" "Not sure yet," I said, watching her fingers twitch, undoubtedly eager to open her tracking app. "Why? Need to know my exact whereabouts every second?" Her face fell. "What's that supposed to mean?" I slid my phone across the table. The tracking app opened on the screen. 8 months. "You've been following me everywhere for 8 months. "It's for your safety," she whispered, not even attempting denial. "I worry about you." "You don't trust me," I corrected. "There's a difference." "You don't understand." "No, I understand perfectly. You've turned our marriage into a surveillance operation." I stood up, suddenly needing air. "This isn't love, it's control." As I walked out the door, I felt her eyes on me, and for the first time I was acutely aware of the phone in my pocket, a digital leash she held tightly. But in that moment, something shifted inside me. If she wanted to track me so badly, I'd give her a real challenge. I wasn't going to confront her again or beg for privacy. I wasn't going to smash my phone in some dramatic gesture. No, I was going to do something far more effective. I was going to vanish completely from her digital radar while being right under her nose. The game of Invisible Man was about to begin, and she had no idea she was already losing. The digital world offers countless ways to be tracked and just as many ways to disappear. I spent my lunch break in a corner of the public library, using their computers rather than my own devices. No login, no traces. My search history filled with terms like GPS spoofing, location privacy, and counter-surveillance techniques. Each article opened new possibilities. I purchased a burner phone with cash from a convenience store downtown. The clerk didn't even look up as I paid. Certainly didn't ask for ID. Step 1 complete. Next came a cheap laptop from a pawn shop, wiped clean and ready for a fresh start. I stored both in a locker at the gym she never visited. Meanwhile, I maintained perfect normalcy. I went to work, came home on time, smiled through dinner. I watched her check her phone throughout the evening. That small, satisfied nod when she confirmed I was exactly where I should be. The digital leash remained intact, for now. My first test was simple. During lunch, I left my phone on my desk while taking a 20-minute walk. When I returned, 3 missed calls and 7 increasingly frantic texts waited for me. "Are you okay? Why aren't you moving? Please answer me." I called her immediately. "Everything's fine. What's wrong?" "Nothing," she lied. "Just checking in." Her reaction told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't just casually monitoring me. She was obsessively watching my movements in real time. The realization sent ice through my veins, but also steeled my resolve. The next day, I tested a GPS spoofing app on my work phone, making small jumps around the building. Sure enough, when I got home, she casually mentioned, "Busy day? Seemed like you were all over the office." I smiled. You have no idea. Over the weekend, I built my plan while pretending to work on spreadsheets. She needed to believe her tracking system still functioned while I gradually dismantled it. I purchased a second spoofer device that could make my phone appear stationary while I moved freely. "Going to the hardware store," I announced casually on Sunday. Her eyes flicked to her phone. Need anything special? Just looking, I replied, knowing she'd watch the dot representing me move to the store, linger exactly as long as a normal trip would take, and return home. Meanwhile, I drove to the opposite end of town to set up a temporary base in a weekly rate motel room, paid in cash. That night, as we lay in bed, she scrolled through her phone with a small smile. She thought she still controlled the game. But while she monitored a digital ghost I'd created, I was making final preparations. Tomorrow would begin my real disappearance. An invisible man, living in plain sight, stepping out of the surveillance net she'd thrown over our lives. The trap was set. Now I just had to spring it and watch her world of control collapse around her. Monday morning arrived with a strange sense of calm. I kissed her goodbye, the same routine we'd followed for years. But today was different. Today I would disappear while remaining completely visible. I drove to work as usual, my primary phone tracking my movements faithfully. Once at my desk, I activated the spoofing device and attached it to my work charger. According to her surveillance, I would remain in this building all day, moving occasionally between my office and the conference room. The digital breadcrumbs would show a perfectly normal workday. With my burner phone in pocket and a baseball cap pulled low, I slipped out the side entrance. No cameras there. I'd checked weeks ago. The feeling of stepping off the grid was electric, a rush of adrenaline mixed with fear and exhilaration. For the first time in months, I moved through the world untracked, unwatched, truly free. I took a bus across town, paid cash for lunch at a diner I'd never visited before, then walked to the motel room I'd secured. Inside was everything needed for my digital rebellion: the laptop, prepaid Wi-Fi hotspot, and a small collection of clothes. I checked my burner phone, no connection to any accounts, completely anonymous. From this shadow headquarters, I could now watch the watcher. Using a temporary email account, I created a new profile on the same tracking service she used. Then I did something she never expected. I began tracking her. Her dot moved frantically around our house at lunchtime, unusual as she normally stayed at her home office during work hours. I watched as she drove to my workplace, circled the parking lot, undoubtedly confirming my car was still there, then returned home. The predator had become prey, completely unaware of the role reversal. By mid-afternoon, her tracking app showed repeated checks of my location, once every few minutes rather than her usual hourly glances. She called my work phone twice, which rang unanswered at my empty desk. I watched her movements grow increasingly erratic as she drove back to my office building around 4. I imagined her confusion, perhaps walking through corridors, looking for me while her phone insisted I was just meters away. The digital ghost I'd created was performing perfectly, keeping her chasing shadows while I observed from a distance. Around 6, her dot returned home. 7 calls to my personal phone went unanswered. I watched through the tracking app as she paced our living room, probably staring at her phone screen, where the dot representing me remained stubbornly at my office. My phone would show as active at work until midnight, when the spoofer was programmed to simulate my drive home. By then, I'd be watching her reaction from my anonymous room across town, experiencing a freedom I hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just about escaping surveillance. It was about reclaiming power in a relationship that had become a prison of digital monitoring. As night fell, I lay on the motel bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling both liberated and hollow. Tomorrow would bring the next phase, and her first real taste of what it means when the watch decides to vanish completely. By morning, chaos had erupted. My tracking device had simulated my return home at midnight as planned, then shown me leaving again at 6 a.m. for an early start at work. In reality, I remained in my motel sanctuary, watching the digital drama unfold through my counter surveillance. Her location pinged all over town, first to my office building, then to the coffee shop I frequented, then frantically to the gym and back home again. She was searching for me physically while still trusting the digital lie my spoofing device was feeding her. The cognitive dissonance must have been maddening. Her eyes told her I was missing, but her precious tracking app insisted I was exactly where I should be. My burner phone buzzed with notifications from the temporary email I'd created. She was reaching out to my friends and colleagues. Have you seen him today? When did you last speak with him? Please call me immediately if he contacts you. The digital net was widening as her panic grew. By noon, she called the police. I watched her dot remain stationary at the local precinct for nearly an hour. I could imagine the conversation. My husband is missing. But ma'am, his phone shows he's at work. I've been there. He's not there. Has it been 24 hours? The authorities would be dismissive. A phone showing normal movement patterns hardly constituted an emergency. Around 2, I received an unexpected alert. She'd driven to a mobile phone store. Clever, she was seeking technical help, perhaps wondering if the tracking app had malfunctioned. The thought of her explaining to a teenage store clerk that she secretly monitored her husband's every movement almost made me laugh. Almost. Late afternoon brought the first crack in her digital armor. My primary phone, still spoofing regular movements at the office, suddenly went offline. She must have remotely triggered some kill switch or reset. The game was evolving. I used the burner phone to call my office voicemail, retrieving messages through the anonymous number. 3 from her, increasingly frantic. 2 from concerned colleagues. 1 from the police, asking me to contact them regarding a missing persons inquiry. The wheels of official concern were turning, exactly as I'd anticipated. As evening approached, I watched her Dot return home and remain stationary. Through public social media, I could see the digital breadcrumbs of her desperation. Vague posts asking if anyone had seen me, carefully worded to avoid revealing the full extent of her surveillance obsession. From my window, I could see the city lights blinking like the tracking dots that had monitored my life for so long. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had become the watcher now, tracking her every movement as she had tracked mine. But unlike her, I planned to end this unhealthy cycle. Tomorrow would mark the 3rd day of my disappearance. Long enough to make my point, not long enough to cause irreparable damage. I began composing a message to her on my burner phone, setting the stage for my return. Not as the monitored husband, but as an equal partner demanding respect and privacy. The digital leash had been broken. Now came the hard part, rebuilding what might remain of our relationship from the shattered pieces of trust, or walking away entirely. I waited until midday to send my message. Home at 7, we need to talk. Simple, direct, impossible to track back to my location. Then I disconnected the spoofing device remotely and let my work phone die completely. No more digital ghost. She would have to wait for my physical return. The hours passed with eerie calm as I packed my few belongings and checked out of the motel. I took a circuitous route home, paying attention to every car that stayed behind me for more than a few turns. Old habits die hard, even when you're the one who created them. At exactly 7 p.m., I pulled into our driveway. The curtain twitched. She'd been watching for me. I sat in the car for a full minute, gathering my resolve. This conversation would determine everything that followed. When I opened the front door, she rushed toward me, a storm of emotions crossing her face. Relief, anger, confusion, fear. She tried to embrace me, but I stepped back, maintaining distance, both physical and emotional. "Where have you been?" she demanded, voice cracking. "I called the police. I thought you were dead." I placed my phones on the coffee table, both the tracked one and my burner. "I've been free," I said simply, for the first time in months. Her eyes darted between the devices. "What is this? What game are you playing?" "No game, just a demonstration." I pulled up the tracking app on my burner phone, turning the screen toward her. How does it feel to be the one watched without consent? The color drained from her face as she recognized her own movements over the past 3 days. "You tracked me? While I was worried sick about you?" "Now you understand," I said. "The violation, the breach of trust, the constant knowledge that someone is watching." She collapsed onto the couch, shoulders slumping. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. "I was just so afraid of losing you. By controlling me, you guaranteed exactly that outcome." I sat opposite her, maintaining eye contact. "Real love isn't possession, it's trust." "I have issues," she admitted, tears streaming now. "After my past relationship, the cheating, I just couldn't bear the uncertainty." "Those were your issues to work through," I said, softening slightly. "Not chains to place on me." We talked until midnight. Really talked, perhaps for the first time in years. About boundaries, about trust, about the fundamental privacy every human deserves, even from those closest to them. About her insecurities and my need for autonomy. About whether what remained between us was worth salvaging. By dawn, we'd reached an agreement. The tracking apps, all of them, deleted from every device. A commitment to couples therapy. A 3-month separation to reflect on what we truly wanted, individually and together. As I packed a small suitcase for my temporary stay elsewhere, she asked quietly, "How did you do it? Make your phone look like you were at work when you weren't?" I almost told her, then stopped myself. Some secrets are worth keeping, not as weapons, but as reminders that true freedom always exists for those determined enough to find it. Magic, I said with the first genuine smile in months. Just a little technological magic. I left that morning not as someone escaping surveillance, but as a man who had reclaimed his autonomy. Whether our relationship would survive remained uncertain, but one thing was clear. I would never again allow my movements, my privacy, my existence to be reduced to dots on someone else's screen. I had vanished from her radar completely, and in doing so, had finally found myself again.